Have you ever wondered about the story behind your daily cup of tea? This humble drink has a history that's thousands of years long, filled with legends, emperors, and global trade. Let's journey back in time to uncover the fascinating origins of tea. Our story begins in ancient China, around 2737 BC, with a legendary emperor named Shennong. He was not only a ruler, but also a brilliant scholar and a pioneer of traditional Chinese medicine. Legend has it that Shennong believed in boiling water before drinking it for better health. One day, while resting under a wild tea tree, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves and a few of them drifted down into his pot of boiling water. As the leaves infused, the water turned a beautiful golden color and released a refreshing aroma. Curious, the emperor took a sip. He was immediately captivated by the delightful taste and the invigorating feeling it gave him. He felt as though the liquid was exploring every part of his body, and he named it cha, the Chinese character for tea, which means to check or investigate. And just like that, the world's first cup of tea was brewed. While this is a charming legend, archaeological evidence suggests tea drinking might be even older. In 2016, scientists found the earliest physical evidence of tea in the tomb of Emperor Jing of Han, who died in 141 BC. This discovery proved that Chinese emperors were enjoying tea at least 2,100 years ago. Initially, tea wasn't the everyday beverage we know today. It was a rare and precious ingredient used primarily for medicinal purposes in ancient China. It was prepared as a bitter tonic, often mixed with other herbs, ginger, or even onions. People believed it could aid digestion, improve eyesight, and promote a long and healthy life. It was a luxury reserved for the royalty and the wealthy elite. The way tea was consumed also evolved dramatically over time. During the Tang Dynasty, from the 7th to the 10th century, tea drinking became a true art form. This era gave us the world's first book entirely dedicated to tea, the Classic of Tea, written by a scholar named Lu Yu. He is now revered as the Sage of Tea. Lu Yu's book wasn't just a manual. It was a poetic guide to cultivating, preparing, and drinking tea. He detailed the specific tools, the best water sources, and the precise methods for brewing the perfect cup. In his time, tea leaves were steamed, pounded, and compressed into dense bricks. To drink it, a piece would be broken off, roasted over a fire until it turned reddish, ground into a fine powder, and then whisked into boiling water with a pinch of salt. It was a complex ceremonial process. This period saw tea transform from medicine into a sophisticated social beverage. Tea houses began to pop up in cities, becoming vibrant centers for art, poetry, and philosophical discussion. Tea was no longer just a drink. It was an integral part of Chinese culture and a symbol of refinement. Then came the Song Dynasty, from the 10th to the 13th century, which brought another major shift. This was the golden age of whipped tea. The brick tea of the Tang Dynasty was replaced by a fine powdered tea we now know as matcha. Tea artisans developed new methods of cultivating shade-grown tea plants to produce sweeter, more vibrant green leaves. The preparation became an elaborate ritual. The powdered tea was placed in a bowl, hot water was added, and the mixture was whipped vigorously with a bamboo whisk until a thick, creamy froth formed on the surface. This method elevated the tea experience to a new level of aesthetic beauty. Japanese Buddhist monks visiting China during this time were so impressed that they brought this powdered tea and the associated rituals back to Japan, where it evolved into the famous Japanese tea ceremony, or Chanowu. The Ming Dynasty, which began in the 14th century, revolutionized tea once again. The first Ming Emperor Hongwu was a man of simple tastes. He found the process of making powdered tea too complicated and laborious. So, he issued a decree that all tribute tea should be in the form of loose leaves, not compressed cakes. This single decision changed everything. It led to the development of new processing techniques like pan firing and oxidation, which allowed for the creation of different types of tea. For the first time, people could enjoy not just green tea, but also oolong and black tea. This innovation made tea more accessible and easier to prepare. All you needed was a pot, hot water, and the loose leaves. This is the brewing method most of us are familiar with today. So, how did tea spread from China to the rest of the world? For centuries, China held a virtual monopoly on tea cultivation and production. The secret of how it was grown and processed was closely guarded. Tea was one of the most valuable commodities traded along the ancient Silk Road, alongside silk and porcelain. The first Europeans to encounter tea were Portuguese missionaries and merchants who reached China in the 16th century. They brought back tales of this amazing beverage. But it was the Dutch who first established a large-scale trade route for tea in the early 17th century. They began importing tea to Europe, where it was initially sold in apothecaries as a health tonic for the wealthy. It was incredibly expensive, sometimes costing more than its weight in gold. Tea's popularity exploded when it arrived in England. In 1662, the Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza married King Charles II of England. She was an avid tea drinker and brought a chest of fine Chinese tea as part of her dowry. Her love for the drink made it fashionable among the English aristocracy. Soon, London's coffee houses started serving tea, and it became the new trendy beverage. By the 18th century, tea was a national obsession in Britain. To meet the soaring demand, the British East India Company established a massive trade network. They imported millions of pounds of tea from China each year. However, this created a huge trade imbalance. Britain wanted tea, but China wasn't interested in British goods, demanding payment in silver instead. This imbalance led to one of the darker chapters in tea's history, the Opium Wars. In a desperate attempt to balance the trade, the British began illegally smuggling opium from India into China. When the Chinese government tried to stop the trade, Britain responded with military force, leading to two wars that had devastating consequences for China. Tired of being dependent on China, the British were determined to grow their own tea. They embarked on a mission of corporate espionage. In 1848, a Scottish botanist named Robert Fortune was sent to China in disguise. He spent years traveling through tea-growing regions, secretly collecting tea seeds, plants, and knowledge about tea processing. He successfully smuggled these back to India, which was then under British rule. The British discovered that a native variety of the tea plant, Camellia sinensis assamica, was already growing wild in the Assam region of India. They combined this with the plant's Fortune brought from China and established massive tea plantations in Assam and Darjeeling. This broke China's monopoly and paved the way for India to become one of the world's largest tea producers. From India, tea cultivation spread to other parts of the British Empire, like Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, and parts of Africa. Tea was no longer just a Chinese or British drink. It was becoming truly global. The story of tea in America also has its dramatic moments. The British colonies in America were huge tea consumers. However, when the British government imposed a tax on tea with the Tea Act of 1773, it sparked outrage. This led to the famous Boston Tea Party, where colonists dumped an entire shipment of tea into the harbor in protest. This act of rebellion was a key event leading to the American Revolution. Interestingly, it was also in America that two major tea innovations occurred. In 1904, at the St. Louis World's Fair, a tea plantation owner named Richard Bleckenden was struggling to sell hot tea during a heat wave. In a moment of inspiration, he added ice to his brewed tea, and iced tea was born, becoming an instant hit. Just a few years later, a New York tea merchant named Thomas Sullivan started sending out tea samples in small silk bags. Customers found it convenient to brew the tea directly in the bag, and thus, the tea bag was accidentally invented. Today, tea is the second most consumed beverage in the world, right after water. From the ceremonial matcha in Japan, to sweet mint tea in Morocco, to milky chai in India, and the classic afternoon tea in Britain, billions of people enjoy this drink every day in countless different ways. So the next time you brew a cup of tea, take a moment to appreciate its incredible journey. It's a story that spans millennia and continents. A story of emperors, explorers, and entrepreneurs. It's a simple leaf that has shaped empires, fueled economies, and brought people together for centuries. What started as an accidental discovery in ancient China has blossomed into a global cultural phenomenon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of tea, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories behind the things we love. See you next time.